Chapter 2. Several targets present themselves in a case, and any one of them can be audited with some profit. The complexity of the problem of human behavior was a complexity of factors, not an unresolvable mass of twine. Once these factors are each known and identified, very little trouble is experienced. Thought, emotion, effort, counter-thought, counter-emotion, counter-effort, motivator attention units, overt attention units, DED attention units, and their manifestation on the various tone scale charts are the sum and total of factors to be audited out of any one target. Each and every auditing target contains these factors, is audited in the same way, has the same basic behavior pattern, and succumbs to such auditing. It does not matter what target one is addressing in a case, he will not discover wild or unexplained manifestations in how he audits that target. Each one, in short, is made up of the same woof and warp. Each one is basically theta. Theta behaves and manifests in a constant manner, no matter what form it takes. Thus, the auditor should quiet any apprehension he has that something he is auditing is behaving differently than a standard item. Variables, so far as has been discovered, do not exist in theta since the discoveries of Dianetics. There are several targets for the auditor. If he understands thoroughly what they are, his chances of mistaking one kind of incident for another are much reduced. They are in their order of magnitude, not their importance. Cellular injuries comprise the first target. A cell is a living animal all by itself. The most necessary auditing on cellular injuries is the emergency assist, wherein the auditor repairs an accident, a burn, an incident which has just occurred. The auditor will find that in auditing a cellular injury which has just occurred, the somatics are very sharp and far more painful than when auditing a standard facsimile. Cellular injuries are audited no differently than any other kind of incident. However, it must be remarked that individual cells have past lives, the easiest manifestation of past lives to check. An auditor can follow a particular cell throughout its own generations within the body and, as part of the evolutionary line, discover many injuries to it. Further, in going back on the evolutionary line and auditing an injury to a single cell, the future positions of that cell are easily located in the body from there to the present, for the future injuries blow off like small sparks of power when the basic injury is released. The migrations of a single cell throughout the body are very easy to track in this fashion and ordinarily check against standard suppositions in the field of physical biology. The pulp of a tooth, for instance, tracks back cell by cell to early engrams. When these are relieved, a toothache in that tooth becomes almost impossible, no matter how many nerves are exposed, a matter which brings about quite a revolution in dentistry. Cellular injuries do not require any special kind of auditing, and they comprise no special kind of injury, nor are there psychosomatics which demand that the cells alone be audited. Genetic entity, the GE, is the second area of address. This is the entity which carries forward from the earliest formation of the messed body. It is this entity which has the genetic line engrams. It is located more or less in the center of the body, the stomach, but it is actually a composite of all the cellular experience on the line. It has the manifestation of a single identity. It was formerly referred to as the somatic mind. See Dianetics, the modern science of mental health. Out of all the past experience of the messed body, it makes up a form, a working carbon-oxygen engine. It has no real personality. It is not the I of the body. It has a record in many cases of the entire experience forward until the last life. The GE has the record of past deaths. Auditing it alters physical structure, eradicates physical malformations. But these can be otherwise changed by auditing the theta being. The GE facsimiles include a transfer of somatics from past theta beings, but it's not common for a GE to have the same theta being twice. The GE is the constant and continual workhorse of the theta body. It regulates the heartbeat, takes care of all such responses, acts as a stimulus response mind to avoid pain and discover pleasure, and keeps the body running in general. A GE departs from the body much later than the theta beings abandon one, sees it through the death to the end, and only then leaves to join the line once one, some 2 or 3 days before conception. This is the mind of an animal, a dog, or a cat, or a cow. Injected entities are the third class of target. These are actually synthetics. They are ridges that think. They form a very complex pattern. They have geographical areas in the body. These areas are standard pre-clear to pre-clear. These areas answer up on an e-meter like actual minds rather than compartments of a mind. The areas are the center, forehead and down, the right inside from the edge of the jaw halfway out to the shoulder, the right outside from halfway to the shoulder to the point of the shoulder, the left inside opposite from the right inside, the left inside, the left outside opposite from the right outside, the stomach entity located in the area of the solar plexus, plus various other entities held in by these basic entities. These entities run off their own past deaths on other tracks, hold sections of the body paralyzed, bar areas from being audited, withhold information from I, and do other mischief. They are actually the basis of demon circuits as covered in Dianetics, the modern science of mental health, and they mirror the personality of persons antipathetic to the pre-clear. They are entirely stimulus response. Each one has, from pre-clear to pre-clear, the same personality in the same body position. The right inside, for instance, answers up to the name of crew chief. They are male and female. Their source is probably a softened up theta being, and they disappear when electronic incidents are audited. Prior to their disappearance, they can exhibit a wonderful and awesome role in confusing the pre-clear. The auditor can move the attention of the pre-clear into one of these and audit it through a death or painful experience, and so bring it up to present time. In view of the fact that auditing basic electronic incidents eradicates them, little attention need be paid to them by the auditor beyond knowing that they are there, and they are the mysterious voices in the heads of some pre-clears, that they make critical or commanding remarks to him and serve in general as a fine source of aberration. Paralysis, anxiety stomachs, arthritis, and many ills and aberrations have been relieved by auditing them. An e-meter shows them up and makes them confess their misdeeds. They are probably just compartments of the mind which, cut off, begin to act as though they were persons. Here is an inexhaustible source of study and speculation, which I leave to another, having located the method of wiping them out without paying any attention to them. Theta beings are the fourth and only really important target for the auditor. The theta being is the I, it is who the preclear is. If all the entities and beingnesses of the preclear were hydrogen balloons locked up inside him, and each had a name and identity, the auditor might be confused, and the preclear is confused as to who I is. But if the preclear were suddenly opened and the balloons let loose, the I balloon would float free, clear, and unmistakable, and that I balloon would be the theta being. It would be who the preclear always thought he was anyway. All others are simply modifiers. The theta being does not get lost. It does not go away. It cannot be stolen. If it went away, the preclear would be with it and be it. The vagueness of personal identity is caused by the confusion of the theta being, not its inextricable tanglement with other identities. The theta being can be confused in itself. It can be hypnotized. It can go to sleep. It can experience emotions. It can think. It can feel pain. It is immortal in that it cannot die. But it could possibly become so burdened with facsimiles that it could not continue along with bodies. It does not need a body to think, make facsimiles, experience emotions, remember, or perceive. The theta being seems natively capable of producing considerable messed energy. Facsimiles alone inhibit this ability, whereas it has come to feel in association with the bad company of genetic entities and the messed universe that it is a stimulus-response thing. It is quite capable of generating thought independently of previous effort, counter-effort, or experience. The preclear is not guarding or harbouring or hiding his theta being. He is his theta being. A relaxed understanding of this will prevent a considerable confusion on the part of the auditor and preclear. If the preclear is responding rationally, he is the theta being responding. As the theta being can be put to sleep, it is possible to bring then to the surface a GE or other entity which, using the motor controls of the body, can talk or experience, but the individual himself is not usually aware of what happened then. The various strange multi-personality manifestations of the mind are occasioned by valences and their basics, the entities. Ordinarily, unless the preclear is obviously insane, these sub-personalities are not distinctly units in themselves, but only colour the activities of the theta being. Hypnotism is the process of bringing into being the GE or other entity by putting the theta being into unconsciousness. Self-hypnosis is the process of the theta being hypnotizing GE or other entity and setting up a compulsive or inhibitive circuit with it. The auditor must know that the existence of a messed body within the fields of the theta being is incidental and even unfortunate processing, which, in the absence of a body, goes much faster. The theta being is both outside and inside the messed body. It is not just inside. The only reason it's inside at all is that any field will penetrate the messed body. The messed body should not be thought of as a harbour or a vessel for the theta being. A better example would be a sliver inserted unwantedly in the thumb, where the thumb would be the theta being. The messed body, the sliver. Messed bodies are good identification tags. They generate exuding emotions. They are fun to operate at times. They are no end of existence. A theta being, with its alertness restored, is capable of remoulding the human bods within its field, taking off weight here, restoring it there, changing appearance and even height. The bodies can also be altered by auditing cells or the GE. All in all, bodies are very easy to handle where their condition is concerned. The question is rather, are they practical? The Theta being can evidently manufacture bodies or a reasonable facsimile thereof, which, while they do not labour, neither do they have to be fed. To a society quite mad on the subject of mess bodies, very aberrated on care of the body, the foregoing may seem a trifle strange, and one might think the writer had, to be short, slipped a cable or two of his wits. Indeed, it's very probable that critics may say so, for the reality is entirely outraged by such sudden statements. But this matter has been under investigation for a year and a half, as witness Theta Clear on the Science of Survival tone scale chart, which I drew in January 1951. It states that the capabilities of a Theta Clear were unknown. Now they are not so unknown, and while there is much to learn about them still, much can be stated concerning them as clear fact. Back of these statements is a 2-year public record of making statements which, under grueling investigation by others, turn out to be exactly what they were said to be. Before turning away from the above, try Scientology 828008 and learn again what it is to be truly free. An hour's auditing will prove it.